Hey guys, Mona here. I just wanted to go ahead and post my initial response regarding like the four questions and the answers. I had originally thought about like typing them out, but then I was just like, I feel like it's more of my expression and I don't want to say passion, but tone that'll probably set this up for me. Um, so one thing I found interesting about Module 1 was basically I liked the whole perusal um activity assignment thing. I feel like there were a lot of things in there that I had to unlearn and question and be more open minded towards other students and like what they felt, and like I kind of had to sit back and evaluate like what I say isn't always right or what I was taught isn't always right. um I just found it interesting that even with students who weren't, necessarily within like the Hispanic culture or Spanish culture like me that didn't grow up around it or really have anything to do with it, that we kind of still had a lot in common. Like one common ground was how at one point in our lives we have felt discriminated against or we have felt like left out of something because, of our characteristic or something of our flaw or just something that is basically like a stereotype. And it's so interesting to see that it's just not one race or it's just not one culture that's being, pointed out or being singled out. If you really look at it, a lot of us are going through these changes where we're trying to understand people. And it was crazy to me how much of an influence that social media and the news really have on us. Um, I don't know if a lot of you guys remember this, but something that's kind of hard to bring up was back in 2001 when 9/11 happened, where anybody that was of, Middle Eastern descent, wore a hijab, or anything like that was immediately, seen as a terrorist. They were bullied, they were attacked. And this is because, again, like I was in 10th grade when that happened. So the news had a lot of influence over me on that. And I've had to unlearn that. Not they're not terrorists. It's just, your mind was being fed these things. So I remember, being in high school when 9/11 happened and it was just bullies, like, everybody that looked different was considered a terrorist. And back in those times, which was like 2001, like in the early 2000s, like you really didn't give any thought to it because, again, like it was so heavily influenced in your house and what you saw. Like anything that was different or anybody that was deemed different. Like I remember when people were scared to sit next to somebody who looked different than them on an airplane because they would automatically be called as terrorist. And I think what was a little bit uncomfortable for me in this module or challenging was, again, having to unlearn everything that I had thought was right growing up. The stereotypes. Is there stereotypes against, white people that are that are, you know, embedded in our brains through Hispanic culture, of course. Um and the LGBTQ community, we've always been a target. And I think I had mentioned as well, I have been married to a woman for the last 7, 8 years, but we've been together 12. And we are, in our 30s. So we're a lot older than most of you guys. And a lot of the freedoms that you guys have now, we didn't have. And we're still very much reserved. We don't hold hands in public. We don't do PDA because we're afraid of what other people are going to think, how they're going to feel, how they're going to react. Like you never know like what's going to happen, like as far as, somebody wanting to retaliate. It's hard to think like that, but hopefully one day it could all change. And but it's a very very sensitive subject for me. But again, unlearning a lot of things and stereotypes is where I have to like really be open minded and not like be so narrow, like in my thinking about stuff. Like, again, Fresno State is a very diverse campus, and I love the diversity. I think it's beautiful. I think we all need to just, step back and be a little more empathetic because we don't know what, a lot of other people are going through. Again, like if you read up on 9/11, or if your parents or brothers and sisters remember 9/11, it was a very tumultuous time where racism was very, very out there. And it was, because of what had happened with the terrorists and a lot of other things. Like it was a horrible time, and it's 2024 and this stuff still sticks with you. But I overall like this module and I'm excited. Again, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you guys really take heed to what it is that I, am. I hope one day we could all just embrace each other and, come together as a whole. But we all know that's far from reality and it's going to take a lot of work. So, thank you guys for listening to me.